going on, everybody? Happy New Year. It will be 2019 by the time you are hearing this, and I just want to thank you for tuning in to Trail Tales, the podcast where I, Kyle O'Grady, a thru hiker and peak bagger, chat with other thru hikers, peak baggers, thru baggers, and peak hikers about their adventures on the trail. That made absolutely no sense, but I am super stoked to share my conversation today with Scott Goldie, trail name Pac-Man, who I had the pleasure of hiking a couple hundred miles with this past summer on my Appalachian Trail thru hike. Now, this was a bit of a different episode. I usually prepare a number of questions for my guests, but for some reason, might have been because I was lazy, and it might have been because I wanted to go for a more organic feel. It was actually because I was too lazy, but for whatever reason, I didn't prepare any questions for this chat. I was a little bit nervous going into it that we wouldn't have enough to talk about, but it actually ended up being my longest episode yet. Maybe I should just wing it more often in the future. I don't know. But anyways, Pac-Man and I chat about a lot of cool stuff. We pretty much just go through his entire 2,000-mile journey, state by state, and just kind of talk about how he was feeling mentally, physically, as he went up the trail. We also talked about some other just kind of random topics like social media use on thru hikes and whether or not the Appalachian Trail is becoming too crowded. Like I said, we pretty much just wung it, and I think it was a really good conversation. Pac-Man, when you hear this, thank you so much for coming on the show. Gonna get into the content in just a moment here, but first, everybody's favorite part of podcast introductions, the part where the host awkwardly asks them to rate the show on iTunes and plugs their contact information. So that's what we're going to do. So why don't we start with contact information? You can contact me a number of different ways because I know you're just dying to contact me about this stupid podcast. That's right, Instagram and Twitter at Trail Tales Pod. DM me, tag me in something, do hashtag Trail Tales. I don't know. I'm on both those platforms, and I'd love to connect. Go give me a follow. Let's interact. Let's have some fun. Yeah, go do that. And I'm also on email, my favorite platform, and I'm really excited to say that after bugging you guys at the introduction of every single episode so far, on episode number 10 of Trail Tales, we finally have gotten an email. That's right, one singular email. I got an email from a gentleman from West Virginia. You know who you are when you hear this. Thank you very much. And he pretty much just gave me some advice and told me he liked the show. I was very much appreciative of that. So if anybody else out there wants to send me an email, please do it. trailtalespod@gmail.com. Hit me up. Talk some shit. I still haven't gotten any shit talk yet, besides from my friends, so let's hear some shit talk. Come on, try to get me to quit this shit. Seriously, dig into me. I don't know. Or tell me you like the show. That would be cool too. Yeah, email me. Okay, next thing I want to say is if you like the show, if you've been listening to multiple episodes, or even if it's your first episode and you like what you hear, and you're just a very kind person who likes to help out strangers on the internet for absolutely no reason, you can do that. Please, please, please go on iTunes or whatever your podcast streaming platform is and leave the show a 5-star review. If you do that and you also leave a little message attached, I will read it at the beginning of the next episode and give you all the credit in the world that you certainly deserve. So please, please do that. I really appreciate it. Helps rank the show higher, I think. I actually read online the other day that it doesn't actually help do that, but I don't know. I appreciate the feedback nonetheless, so I want some reviews. Please go do that. 5 stars. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Podcast time. Introduction is over. Let's get into my chat with Scott Goldie, trail name Pac-Man, Appalachian Trail class of 2018. Bam! We're live. We're not really live, but we are recording. I am here with Scott Goldie, trail name Pac-Man. What is going on, my friend? What's good?
Hey, what's up, dude? How you been, man?
Oh boy, we're already getting audio mix-ups here. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn that off. To your question, I am doing pretty good. Just been kind of grinding, making some money since I got back from the trail. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for taking the time to do this silly little podcast tonight.
Yeah, no problem, man. I mean, when you first mentioned it on the trail, I was about it, dude. I think this is a great idea to kind of just get more information out there and get some interviews going, dude.
Hell yeah. So, this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of episode, maybe. I'm not even sure. The reason I say that is because I'm usually pretty thorough in my preparation for these episodes. I come up with an entire list of questions, usually more questions than I even have time to get to. But tonight, I'm kind of slacking a little bit. That being said, despite the fact that I do not have a notebook in front of me, Pac-Man and I know each other pretty well. We hiked together for a good chunk of the trail. What was it? We first met in Waynesboro, Virginia, right?
Waynesboro, yeah, all the Shenandoahs and like huge section around Virginia, yeah.
In most of Pennsylvania as well. And then that little
sure.
section up in the 100-mile wilderness when we kind of caught back up to each other. So Pac-Man and I know each other pretty well, so I'm kind of hoping we can just kind of wing it. I guess to start off, Pac-Man, I kind of want to start off the same way that I start every single episode off because I'm not very creative, clearly. I kind of want to know, how did you first learn about the Appalachian Trail? Kind of take me through your life circumstances that kind of allowed you to take the time off to do this hike. And then also, what kind of made you want to fucking just go out into the woods for 4, 5, 6 months. Like, that's pretty crazy. What kind of put you over the edge there?
Yeah, man. I mean, everybody's got their own kind of thing that brings them out there, but for me, I think it was just like I needed it in my life at the time. I kind of first heard about it from a friend who had just always been about it, had always talked about it, had I don't know, made it like sound so magical and mystical in a way that I was just like, no, this can't be real, this experience that, he'd been out there and kind of hung out, and he came back and told me all these great stories and like how social it was, and just, I don't know, the woods, man. It's a pretty magical place, pretty intense. But yeah, I think I just wanted the challenge in my life. I was coming off of like a really rough job, and that kind of set me in the mood to just change, I guess, life in general, and see what else was out there in a way, kind of test myself. I was feeling just like bunkered down in life, man, like everybody gets to. And I just needed that escape, I think. And it came up in my circle of friends again. And I was just like, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's
Sign
what
me
I want
up.
to be about. Yeah. So I think I just kind of like decided about 6 months before I actually went out
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a right time, right place sort of thing. Like I knew I wanted to do it like within the next 2 years, and then yeah, everything lined up, and I've been collecting gear, and I was just like, fuck it, let's go.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what led me out there, man, in the first place. And actually, let me bring it back a little bit. About a year
Sure.
before ended up starting the trail, the summer before, I actually went on a little test run for about 10 days with my friend. And it was really ridiculous because I didn't know what the hell we were doing. I think I was wearing cotton clothing, like all the wrong gear. Like I think we took 10 days to get to mountain crossing. Like what was that,
10
Neil's Gap?
days to do 30 miles.
30 miles. So we were just like cruising, dude. Like, I think some days we would hit like 3 miles and be like, yeah, this place looks like a great spot. And so
Dude,
it was
honestly,
nice.
though, like, I've done, like, some really, like, slow trips like that before. I don't know about 10 days of not that many miles, but, 4 or 5 days at a time where we're only going, 10 or less miles a day. And honestly, like, those are some of my favorite hikes. Like, sometimes, like, I like the grind of a through hike for sure, just kind of busting out the miles and stuff, but it is kind of nice to just take it easy sometimes, especially when you don't have as much backpacking experience like it sounds like was your circumstance at the time.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like honestly, that was really my first like legit trip. I done day hiking and like camping and stuff like that throughout my life, but nothing as extreme as like a continual walk in the woods and needing all your gear with you. So That little trip actually like set the vibe perfectly. Like honestly, I think I fell in love with the trail in that moment,
Yeah.
even more so than when I went out there the second time. But yeah, it really just like put everything into perspective. And I think this was, yeah, 2017. So I met like a lot of good people and like a lot of people going on their through hikes.
Yeah.
So it was just so inspiring to see these people that were like on the beginning of their own journey, and they're about to do 6 months out there. I'm like, man, I'm doing 10 days and 30 miles. Like, so I was like, after that, like I just got addicted to it, man. Like it was the only thing I could think of. I was on every Appalachian website you could do, looking at all the photos, just like kind of obsessed with it. And yeah, the moment that I had the time, I was like, screw it, I'm going in the woods. Like I just kind of like left. And a lot of my friends and family, like I think they hit them by surprise in a way, probably like a lot of people, where they don't think you're exactly serious about it until you're like going out there
Yeah.
and like, really, you're gonna live in the woods for 6 months?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I tried not to like talk about it that much with my friends because I was at school still. I was on Springer Mountain 2 days after I graduated from college, so I was still
Well,
like around all my friends. I was in a fraternity, so like just a huge like social group, and I pretty much just kept my mouth shut about it because I was like, first of all, they probably don't really care. And second of all, they probably just would think I'm crazy. Like they know I'm into hiking, so maybe they would give me some credibility. But I just, yeah, I kind of can feel you in that regard. As far as like the reaction of like friends and family and stuff. So that's actually a question that popped into my head like as you were talking there. So you said your friends and family didn't really take you seriously. Did you have any like I don't know, like funny reactions from anybody when you told them you were going to do that? Like what were like people saying to you usually when you told them your plans and stuff?
I mean, I think it was just more shocking than anything. Like the whole 6 months in the woods and walking the United States in the backwoods, like the whole idea of it, I think, was just so shocking to anybody. Like nobody thought I was gonna do it. Not in a way that they like doubted me. In a way that was just like it sounded so
They
absurd.
just like can't even process it.
Right, right. It's just like too much. And then, you start maybe talking about the details, and they're like, what, there's bears out there? And how do you get food? And like, where's your water? It's like the basics for us, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's so hard to like, I don't know, describe the details of something you're going into like that. And so, yeah, after a while, it was just kind of like this, all right, we'll see you in a couple of weeks thing. And then I think once I got out there, they didn't see me, and then like a month went by, and it was just like, all right, I guess you're doing this. I got a bunch of like texts and emails and calls, and they're just like, are you really still out there? You're not like hiding in like some motel
Wow.
somewhere?
Too ashamed to come out. Admit
Right,
that you
right.
failed.
So I mean, it worked, and then I think that was about the time people really got on board. People started following my Instagram that I had, and just like I had like a little GPS tracker, and people got on board, and I was like surprised more than anything with all the support, man. Like people were about it, and like I think
Yeah.
once they saw like how serious it was, they're like, all right, I guess Pac-Man's living in the woods now.
It's crazy. I kind of experienced something similar just from posting on my Instagram and stuff. You know, I posted pictures now and then, but I really posted a lot on my Instagram story, like probably, I want to say almost every day, maybe, quite a bit. And I was kind of surprised at the amount of people that kind of reached out to me at the beginning, especially after like my first story I posted like on top of spring. I was like, okay, here I am. I'm about to hike like 2,000 miles. Like, wish me luck. Like, you could tell just on my face, I was just terrified. And anyways, I was kind of surprised at how many people just like reached out to me, you know, close friends and even, you know, just some kind of acquaintances I've made over the years that I hadn't really kept in touch with very closely that, you know, reached out and were like, yo, good luck. Like, this is pretty dope. So it was cool. It was cool to kind of feel some support back home in a ways.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think once like yeah, it clicks with most people, in your friends and family. It's just like once they really realize what you're about, then I just felt yeah, you just get so much support out of that, and it's really I don't know, it helps out there honestly.
Oh yeah, it's
So
huge for
much.
sure. It's like I can't really imagine what it would be like to through hike like before like technology, I guess. Sound like such a millennial saying that, but like can you imagine just going out in the woods in like I don't know, like the 70s or the 80s or something before cell phones certainly and, just not being able to contact anybody except for, I guess you could make a phone call when you're in town, but, certainly not sharing it with, anybody outside of your immediate friends and family, anybody you can just kind of make a call to. And oh, geez, I was going somewhere with that, Pac-Man. I totally lost my train of thought. See, this happens every single time.
Oh, good, man.
That sounded so good, too. No.
You want to take it back, man? Go for it.
Oh, what was I saying? I got distracted by I was, like, picturing, like, a payphone or some shit. I don't even know.
I think, like, being a different hike, like, in the 70s, like, honestly, it would be a completely different hike, the experience.
Not being able, that's where I was going. Not being able to share it with people, and not having, I mean, I'm sure you'd have friends and family supporting you, but, not having words on a screen that people sent you 5 minutes ago, wishing you luck and that sort of, like, immediate support, I guess. That would be interesting, because I know for me, and it sounds like for yourself as well, that was, like, definitely a big encouragement, I guess, was just knowing that if I, like, don't make it all the way and have to, like, share with my friends and family on Instagram, this sounds so pathetic, but, like, if I have to, like, tell everybody I didn't make it and, like, didn't accomplish my goal, I would have kind of felt like a little bit of a chump. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it holds you to something. I mean, you're out there for yourself and you're out there for your individual goals and everything, but it does help when you're like, you think about that, it's like, all right, I could go home, but I also have to face that shame in a way, or whatever that means to you. It might not be shame. Maybe you accomplished what you needed out there, but I know that is what I felt like, and it set me to a standard of just like I said I was going to do this. I would boasted about it. I told everybody I knew so that it would kind of hold me to it. And I think it really did help. Like, you're thinking about it out there, and it's that crappy day when it's raining and it's cold and you're wet and you're miserable and you're hungry and you're just like, I could go home, but I don't want to face those people if I do.
Yeah, it's definitely good encouragement. Yeah, that, especially at the beginning, that's something that I kind of worried about a lot. Like I said, I got up on Springer that very first night, and I basically announced to the world my Instagram is public, so anybody could see it in theory. Not that many people see it because no one really cares, but I announced to the world, I was like, yeah, I'm about to do this. Like, people got to hold me to it, I guess. And at the beginning, say for the first month or so, that was a huge piece of encouragement for me. It actually made me kind of anxious sometimes just thinking about it. I was like, oh man, like I was like thinking of like specific people, like, oh, so and so is going to give me so much shit if I can't finish this trail. Like, I don't know. It's definitely a big motivating factor, I'll say. So, because I'm totally winging this interview, a subject just popped into my head. It's something I haven't really covered too much, so I think I'm going to throw it out there and see if we can chat about it for a few minutes here. Yeah. That subject is social media and technology on the trail. Now, this is something that's kind of controversial, and I say kind of because I feel like it was more controversial in years past, and today it's kind of more accepted that people are just going to use their phones on the trail. I mean, there's gut hooks, the navigation app, obviously, that a ton of thru hikers use and rely on, but I feel like when I was like first kind of learning about backpacking and hiking, one of like the courtesy rules that people would say was that it's rude to be on your cell phone like while you're around other people in the woods. And that's like just such a foreign concept nowadays. Like, no one gives a shit if you're on your phone, I feel like. But I don't know. I guess it's a general question, like, what are some of your thoughts about, people using social media and technology, whether it be cell phones or whatever, on the trail?
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, I think it enhances the experience, but also coming from a person who has grown up and lived with technology.
Right.
But really, in a way, like, I mean, I didn't have gut hooks, so I can't really speak on that, but I know a lot of people around me had it, and it was phenomenal. Like, it'd be hard, well, maybe not hard, but it'd be more difficult to get lost and lose your way with something like that. And just like the comments alone in the community just helped enhance the experience. Like, you might find a stealth spot or a cool hostel that you never would know about if you didn't have that community kind of backing you. So I think in the community sense, it really helped a lot to just enhance the hike. And even like the Facebook pages and the Class of 18 Facebook page and stuff, it just had so much information and like such a live feed to what was going on, whether it be weather or safety related or just,
Anything.
anything. It could be you lost your trail family and you need to roll
Yeah.
up on them. So like it was so useful. And that was just like from a helpful standpoint, but then like Instagram.
Pac-Man, you're cutting out right now.
What's that?
You just cut out for a second.
Oh, cool.
I heard you say half of the word Instagram, and then I lost everything after that. Do you want to just start there?
Yeah, perfect. So honestly, like before I even went on this trip, I didn't even have an Instagram account, and it was more just so that I could feel like I was logging the journey in a way
Yeah.
through photos, like mostly for myself, so I could look back on it. But it kind of just, I don't know, it became helpful out there in this way of staying connected to the outside world. And even if it was just like a fellow hiker or even somebody back in it within my world, it was just like a like for a photo helps so much, or a small comment. So I think in terms of morale, like that really set things apart for me, and it just helped to stay connected, but not in a overly aggressive way. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like I was texting home or like sending emails every day. It was just very casual, and like people could kind of follow my progress and be like, oh, cool, like that's the mile marker he's passed, or he's in this state. So it's just a lot like of a chiller kind of connection. And I think showing the world what you're seeing in a way helped a lot too, because like you get to kind of critique and categorize like what you're showing, and there's so much to show. So it kind of helped me focus a lot on like what the trip was for me in a weird way. Like I don't know, that might be too detailed.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's honestly something I haven't really thought about. I guess if I assume people post like their best stuff on social media, so it kind of helps you, I guess, just solidify like what some of your favorite parts of the trail are, just based on what you post on Instagram. That's kind of interesting. I never really thought about that, honestly.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like I kind of look back on that account and just scroll through the photos when I'm like feeling the trail, and
Yeah.
it's just like a perfect capture of like the experience. And yeah, man, it's just like this awesome photo book of the journey. But yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, it just helped so much, and it kind of like I would almost go out of my way to like go to certain vistas or views or a particular mountain, or like maybe get up early for a sunset shot, and not like necessarily just for the Instagram, but like it kind of helped promoted like myself and like what I wanted to see out there. And like I knew that I had things I wanted to check off and on my journey, and that was kind of part of it. Just I don't know, experiencing those beautiful moments. And yeah, I happen to get them on film every once in a while, so that it's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely in the camp of like pro social media and technology on the trail, as I think, as I said a few minutes ago, most people are these days. That being said, I do feel like there are some downsides. I mean, I think a popular argument for that would be, oh, that it just kind of takes you out of the moment. Maybe you're too busy looking at your phone to enjoy like the experience or the moment or whatever. Which I think is a fair point, I guess. I don't really, at least for myself, I don't really think it took away from my experience that much at all. I don't think there was ever a time where I was like buried in my phone. Then I looked back on it and I was like, oh yeah, I wish I had put my phone away there. That being said, there is another argument which I think has a decent amount of credibility, kind of against social media and technology on the trail. And I kind of want to know if anybody listening to this has any thoughts on this. I kind of want to know. Send me an email or contact me, whatever. I say all that stuff at the beginning of the episode. You know where to find it. And that is that social media, and even I would even just say Instagram and YouTube in particular, kind of do drive a lot of people onto the trail that might not have gone otherwise and might not necessarily be fit to be on the trail, I guess. I'm treading lightly here because at the end of the day, I do kind of disagree with this argument, but I'm just trying to kind of put it out there. The trail, the Appalachian Trail and the PCT in particular, are becoming a lot more popular and crowded nowadays than they ever have been. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I don't have them off the top of my head, but I know that it's a rapid growth throughout the past couple of years, as in there's like a significant more amount of people that started the Appalachian Trail this year in 2018 compared to even like 2014 and 2015. I mean, the numbers are just growing pretty fast, and I don't know about you, Pac-Man, but there definitely were times on my hike where I felt like the trail was a little bit too crowded. I don't want to say too crowded, but there was just maybe more people than I would have liked at the time. I don't know. What are your thoughts on, I guess, kind of just the trail becoming a little bit overcrowded and maybe kind of relating that back to social media or whatever?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you have a good point, man, because there's definitely like a balance that you want as a through hiker out there, and maybe that you hope for. And sometimes, yeah, when you go on YouTube and you're looking at Appalachian Trail photos or videos, sometimes they run the risk of like glorifying it or making it sound. Maybe they don't describe all the hard work on a daily grind as it would be, but you definitely run that risk of oversaturation. And there were quite a few, I mean, not quite a few, but there were a couple times where I definitely felt that. Probably just like everybody else, more so in the beginning, just because, it's like a rat race in the beginning for like the first 30 or 40 miles, and people are falling in and out, and you just feel really crowded. But honestly, like, I felt like it kind of worked itself out, especially like right around when you're going into Virginia. Like, I feel like you're pretty much out there or you're not. Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it was kind of something for me. It was definitely like a beginning phase thing. And as things kind of like, mellowed out and people fell off the trail or decided that they were going to do it, I think that's when it was like the problem kind of left me, at least. I mean, other than the more maybe touristy spots where you run back into civilization.
Yeah.
And
Day
it's just
hikers and section hikers, weekends or whatever.
right. And like, that can be a little overwhelming sometimes. I remember having a moment on Greylock, like way at the end, up in was that Massachusetts?
Yeah,
and it was just like,
right at the end of Mass.
yeah, it was just like way too many people around, just for like, I don't know, the feeling of the trail, and it just felt so. It felt like what I was trying to escape from in a way.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of just bounced out of there real quick. I think it was just like I was so turned off by like, why is the trail going through like such a socialized, populated sort of spot. But I mean, that was just probably my hiking. But yeah, honestly, I think it's a good thing. Like, I think if the information is going to be put out there through technology like YouTube, then I think people just need to be honest. And if you're not honest about what it's like to be out there, then you are going to get the people that show up day one and are unprepared and like don't know what they're getting into. That's fine. Like, they'll figure out whether they want to be out there or not. But it definitely, like, I feel that like almost pressure of like more and more people were going to be out there. And it wasn't this year like the most that there ever has been.
It's gone up every single year, and I'm sure it'll go up next year as well.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's kind of crazy because you think about all the trail maintenance and like what people do to like make sure that trail survives, and you just add people to it. And there's definitely like a balance where it'll probably reach a point where it's like, all right, man, like, we can't let that many people go out there at once. Like, you gotta probably sign up per year or something.
Do the permit thing like they do in the PCT, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know exactly where I stand in that argument. Probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, because like I know that a lot of those YouTube videos of those photos inspired me to get out there. So I don't want to be completely against it, but at the same time, I think you want to have a nice balance there. But yeah, overall, I think technology in the trail is positive. I hope it doesn't go too far overboard. Maybe that would be my concern.
No drones doing resupplies in the middle of the 100-mile wilderness, hopefully.
Oh, hopefully not, man.
I mean, that would be like insane, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that might take away from the experience a little bit more than just kind of playing on your phone every now and then or posting on Instagram. I don't know. The trail being overcrowded thing it's a tricky subject for me. Because like I said earlier, there's definitely been times where I wished that maybe there was a little bit less people out there, I guess. But at the same time, it's pretty hypocritical to say that, honestly, because like, why should I be more entitled to this trail than anybody else, What, just because I've hiked more than some people, that doesn't make me more entitled to be out there. And that's definitely a pretty good, I guess, counter argument to the whole, the trail's becoming overcrowded thing. And I think one of the other, I guess, main arguments, for, not limiting the amount of people that can be on the trail and not being upset about the overcrowdedness is just the fact that the more people that are aware of the Appalachian Trail and I guess invested in the Appalachian Trail, and I shouldn't even just say the AT, all these different long distance backpacking trails, the more people that are invested in those, the more people that are going to be willing to, help out, help conserve those trails, do trail maintenance even, and just kind of support the trail community in general. So I don't know. It's a tricky argument for sure. We could probably do a whole episode on just that, but I think I'm going to spare everybody from hearing me ramble about this anymore. So why don't we get into your Appalachian Trail hike a little bit more, Pac-Man? So like I said, we don't really have any plan here. We just kind of briefly chatted before we started recording about just kind of going through the entire trail, just kind of state by state, I guess, and just kind of talk about each state and maybe some of your experiences in them. So why don't we start by placing you all the way back on top of Springer Mountain? I know that's maybe a daunting thought, but, take me back to day one, what's going through your head, or even, your first couple days. I guess just like, how did you fare at the very beginning?
Yeah, man. All right. I'll take it all the way back. Actually, let me take it back one step further, because
Sure.
I did the approach trail, and that honestly was when it really hit me, I think. On it. So like, I didn't even make it to Springer my first day out there. I kind of got like a late start at Amicola Falls, and yeah, it just didn't start the way I imagined it. It was just pouring rain.
That's always a good way to start.
Oh yeah, I'm leaving like late afternoon, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna make it to that first shelter. That can't be that hard. And I don't know. I think it's just like the shock of it. Like I was so hyped up on the adrenaline that it got me through that. But by the end of the day, man, I think I rolled into camp as the sun was setting. I was destroyed. I didn't even eat any food. I just barely put up my tent and just passed out. And I was just like, man, I started having some doubts, but I was like, all right, that's day one. Like, we'll see how it is in the morning.
Yeah.
Woke up in the morning and it's snow everywhere.
Oh
I'm
shit!
like,
What day did you start?
I started on the 15th of April.
Of April.
So
Okay.
yeah, and so I mean, it was kind of like I woke up that next morning, and I would be lying if I said I didn't have thoughts of Indian there. I mean,
Right.
it was kind of just eye-opening. It was just like, all right, like these might be some of the tougher days to start with, but at the same time, like it showed me what the trail was going to be. I didn't hide any of the bad experience, or
No.
not even the bad, but the toughness of it. So I think going in, I kind of got a feel for just, I don't know how tough it could be potentially, but honestly, it was way easier after that. I think the next day when I did finally make it to Springer and it was just covered in snow, it really hit me then, man. Like I was like, yes, like this is what I'm out here for. I want to fucking do this, man. Like,
Hell yeah.
it just like, that's when it nailed. Yeah, it just
That's
really,
the attitude you got to have right from the beginning, honestly.
yeah, exactly. And like, I didn't know anybody going out there. I went solo, like a lot of people, and you meet the people in the beginning, sort of a few familiar faces, but like at least for me, I didn't really make that connection until a little bit later on with any other hikers. So like I was going very solo for maybe a couple of weeks, and that was fine. Like honestly, I went out there thinking it was going to be like the most classical sense of like going into the backwoods and hiking. Like I didn't think I'd see people for days. I didn't even think about the social
Yeah.
connection. Like
Right
I thought it was
after
just
we finished talking about the trail being overcrowded.
exactly, man. It's like, so like I guess I never thought about that aspect of it, the social end of it. Like I thought it was going to be very isolating and very kind of like inner development in a way.
Yeah.
And like instantly that reality was shattered for me. Like I mean, you were out there, man. Like the beginning is so intense. There's so many people. Like every camp is full, every shelter. So after an amount of time, I just kind of you get into those kind of same familiar faces, and you see them at the campsite, and you just kind of start to bond with people. And yeah, honestly, like the very beginning, like Georgia, I like honestly, I kind of didn't give a shit about the beginning because I had done that first 30 miles.
Yeah.
I was bored with it, honestly. Like I did it way faster than the 10 days previously,
Right.
but I was just like ready for something new, and I was almost it was almost like a little hard just because I was like, all right, I'm out here for new adventures, new excitement and experiences, and I didn't get that in the first handful of days, and I don't know, it like kind of ruined a little bit of the morale in a weird way, but as soon as I crossed that threshold of like far, like one step farther than I'd ever been,
Yeah.
like everything like was renewed. Like I fell instantly in love with the trail again, and it was like, all right, this is what it's about. And yeah, man, like so, Georgia was like, it was good. It was like the time you needed to kind of adjust to the lifestyle and the trail, and like I think that's about the time that I started like actually eating like a hiker and like feeling like a hiker, and you get over that idea, like you start shaking off those social norms of like not showering, not like
Yeah.
having clean clothes and stuff like that. So
Just,
yeah,
I
just
love
being
that.
out there. No, it's true.
I
And
know it is true.
but yeah, after Georgia, man, like I think it really like the next chapter for me was kind of the Smokies, and I think it was about like that time when I made it to Fontana Dam, and the place was just packed and there's tons of hikers, and I think I really felt it right then. Like I was a part of that culture and a part of that like mentality. It's just like everybody was gearing up for this like the first real challenge of the Nobo hiker, and everybody was excited but nervous to go into our big mountain range. And I don't know, just making it that far and getting through the Smokies felt like such like a challenge marked off the list. And
Yeah, it did.
once you get past that, it was just like, all right, like I can probably do the rest of this. I mean, in a dumb kind of foolish way to compare everything to the Smokies, but it was just a good like litmus test almost. Like, yeah, I just felt a lot more confident in my ability because like going out there, dude, honestly, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like I said, first hiking, like I kind of like, I know you probably already done an episode of gear, but honestly, like I kind of just checked off the list of like the essential 10, but never researched anything, never like got the right gear. It was just about getting like that item. So I was just like, I don't know. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, like most people, but I like my name being Pac-Man, I got that honestly because of the giant pack, and I carried I think 60 pounds in the beginning when I
Oh,
started.
dude.
It was ridiculous.
It's so funny. Every single year, tons and tons and tons of people do that, and I'm sure next year it'll be the same way. I think that's so funny.
Oh, no doubt, man. And it's just like, I don't know, you get people to help you out, a hostel here or a shakedown from another hiker friend, and it's just like your eyes, like you're awakened to this reality of like, yeah, I don't need those other items. Or what was I thinking? And just like by the end of this, you're like, you've got 30 something items in your pack and you wish you had 20. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, sorry about that little tangent, but yeah,
Oh,
man,
no, you're
like
good, dude.
honestly, I think that like going through the smoking and surviving that, and then honestly like that was where I kind of found a lot of like trail friends and like started somewhat of a trail family, and like really felt connected to the social end of the spectrum. And I think it had to do a lot with being forced to stay in those shelters in the Smokies, which
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, honestly, because everybody was so packed in, and it was almost like forced to be social, but like in a really good way, like get out of your shell and kind of like start bonding with people who are going through the same experiences as you. So I think that helped a lot in a way. Like, don't get me wrong, like I hated it going into the Smokies. Like, why am I having to stay in these shelters? Like, I'm a tent dude.
Yeah, I
Like,
complained about it quite a bit as well because I was like hammock for life, but got through it.
right.
Honestly, it rained the entire time I was in the Smokies, so I probably would have stayed in the shelters anyways.
Ooh, yeah, dude, that cannot have been fun.
I know the Smokies are like a huge milestone. I remember Mullet Mike and I at the time when we made it to the Smokies, we were like so stoked. I was like, yes, the epic Smokies, a national park. Like this is such like a famous part on the trail. And we were kind of talking about it, and we were like, yeah, like I can't believe we made it all the way to the Smokies. Like we're already in the Smokies. And then for the rest of the trail after that, we kind of looked back on that conversation and just kind of like mocked ourselves. We were like, oh yeah, dude, remember we made it to the Smokies? Like that was so sick. As we're in like New Hampshire, like after almost 2,000 miles of hiking. So I don't know. It is a very big milestone, making it to, not even to, I guess making it through and out of the Smokies as well. Like I know I kind of felt like rejuvenated, I guess, walking into Standing Bear Hostel, being like, okay, Smokies are behind me. Like, what's next? I don't know.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like I had that moment too. I think it was in Hot Springs, just like right after staying
Oh
there,
yeah,
but
that's a big milestone as well for sure.
it was in a way of just kind of like coming out of the Smokies and coming out of this mountain, this challenge that you just conquered, and then you get down to this town and you stay in these hostels and you start seeing familiar faces and you see the people that made it through, and it's just like that's that moment where it's like, all right, I'm a part of this community. Like I made it. Like I've earned my spot so far in
Yeah.
this hike, and yeah, it just really connected for me then, and like I think that's when yeah, I started really just hiking with other people, and like I was very solo before then, so I don't think I'd even hiked a full day with anybody at that point, and everything kind of just changed. And yeah, man, I mean, it was just something I kind of started really enjoying, was just I don't know, bonding with somebody who's going through this with you. You think you're so alone out there sometimes, but you're really not, and that makes all the difference.
Oh yeah, we could do an entire episode on just the social dynamic of through hiking. It's something I've definitely talked about with other guests as well, but I mean it's just such a integral part of a through hike, at least on the Appalachian Trail. Such an important part of that experience. So yeah, it's definitely important. So kind of going back to Hot Springs, because it's kind of weird because the Smokies and Hot Springs are relatively close to each other, but I feel like they are kind of like two separate milestones nonetheless. I know I was like really stoked when I made it to Hot Springs because Hot Springs, I believe, in 2018 was about 274 miles into the trail. And the furthest I had hiked before I made it to Hot Springs was about 273 miles. So at that point, I was kind of like, okay, this is like my longest hike ever now. Like I just gotta, keep grinding. So I don't know. That was definitely an important milestone for me, I guess. And it was also the spot where I took my first zero, so that was pretty nice too. Just kind of chilling out a little bit. But going forward from Hot Springs, I'm trying to think what would be like the next big milestone after Hot Springs. I mean, I know there's Damascus, but I'm trying to think if there's anything like between Hot Springs and Damascus that's like super super noteworthy, I guess.
Um, honestly, what was the
I was grinding. Like I kind of picked it up after the Smokies, so like it's kind of a blur. Sorry, what were you gonna
yeah.
say?
Oh no, where was the Grayson Highlands before Damascus?
That's after. This is like just after
Okay.
Damascus. Yeah,
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
I should have brought my AWOL guide so I could just kind of flip through that real quick and see.
Right.
Oh,
It's
dude,
such a blur.
I feel like such an idiot. So Hot Springs is like along the okay, I know the Rowan Highlands. That's a pretty good spot. How was going through there?
I mean, I think it was really like I enjoyed it a lot, honestly, especially because I feel like that was the first time you kind of got that bald, mountainy feel in a way that's just like you're not suffocated in a trees or in the forest. Like you really get the sense of like the vastness of where you're at. And honestly, like I got hit with a ton of rain right
Oh,
around
that's a
there.
bummer.
And it actually turned out fine because it was like right before like Roan Mountain, and I think it was just like one of the most miserable days probably out there, where it's just like you're hiking up a mountain and it's pouring rain, and you're hiking down, it's pouring rain, ankle deep mudslides and stuff. And one of the other hikers I was with, No Chill, he was like, "This is like our Vietnam out here. This is we get through this, and we'll be fine for the rest of the trip." And
Yeah.
I think that really hit, man. Like, yeah, just like going through such like a like everybody has that like rain, the nature and the elements, man. But that was the first kind of test for me. Was right around Roan Mountain and just living in rain for days and days. And yeah, but it was great because like I think that was right around the time that it cleared up. So like I actually got to Roan Mountain like the day it cleared up. It was beautiful. It was
Such a
great. Like
nice spot. Yeah.
so amazing, clear skies and everything. So it like really woke me out of this like maybe the more gloomy side of an experience, that like my first kind of like downer moment of just like everything, you're still moving forward, you're still making your progress, but like it's just kind of miserable days.
Kind of
And
grinding. Yeah.
yeah, and once you get through that, like you feel so, like you said, rejuvenated, man. Like you feel good, and you're like, all right, like I survived that. It's not going to be every day like that, so you feel empowered I think. Yeah. So Roan Mountain was pretty cool, not only just for what it was, but just like the timing of the trip. And yeah, man. And then like honestly after that, like Grayson Highlands, like probably the best day I ever had on the trail was in the Grayson Highlands, like right when you hit 500 miles. And I don't know, I just felt
You're north of Damascus at that point, which is, again, Damascus is a huge milestone. I mean, another one of those towns that the trail just goes right through. It's like, it's kind of like the unofficial, like, quarter-ish way kind of point.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, coming out of Damascus, like that was a really cool town just because you felt like the town backed you so much.
Trail
Like,
Town, USA. It says it right
Trail
on the side of that building there.
exactly. And like they could have nailed it anymore, man. Like everybody in that town is about the trail.
That
It
is
felt
the
amazing.
economy of the trail. It's so funny.
Exactly.
The trail is the economy of the town, rather, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, not every town you go through is about the trail, even if they're right on it. You know, like sometimes, you know, there's the town's more about something else, and that's fine. But like
Yeah.
Damascus, I felt really welcome there, and just the culture and everything. Yeah, I love that spot. But yeah, going out there, yeah, and then hitting Grayson Highlands, and just like, man, that it was just such a beautiful spot. And I think it just felt like hitting 500 was mind blowing to me. Like I know each 100 miles and each big like trail milestone, it like feels so significant.
It does,
as you
yeah.
hit it. But like that was the first one where it was like, holy shit, 500 fucking
That's
miles.
yeah, you're like just about a quarter of the way. Like you walked 500 miles, and now you're gonna walk 500 more.
Exactly. Yes.
Get my reference?
Oh yeah. No. I mean, honestly, man, like that like just hit home so much, and I think I felt like I don't know, man. Like I think that was kind of the time that I started forgetting about this past life, like this life that you lived outside
Yeah.
the trail, and you like really started to feel like
You're
this is all I
definitely
knew.
settled in by the time you make it to Damascus, I would say. At least most people's experiences, from my understanding. I guess kind of going north from Damascus. So now you're in Virginia, right? So Virginia is the longest state on the whole trail. I'm sure everybody knows about the Virginia blues, you know, just kind of feeling like you're not making as much progress in Virginia due to some of the terrain, I guess, just being like kind of similar, which I don't necessarily think is true. I thought there was quite a bit of diversity in the scenery of Virginia, but I can also understand how people kind of get sucked in on the green tunnel thing. And then, of course, just the fact that Virginia is so long, you know, 550 miles, I believe, by far the longest state on the trail. And it's kind of tough to feel like you're making progress when you've been in Virginia for, you know, a month or longer. You haven't crossed any state lines, you know, something that is pretty integral, I guess, to feeling successful while you're through hiking the Appalachian Trail. So kind of take me through, I guess, southern to central Virginia. So say north of the Grayson Highlands, you know, up to maybe like Shenandoah, like between Grayson Highlands and Shenandoah.
Yeah. Okay.
If you can remember, I can't even remember like what the hell was even through there, honestly.
No. Honestly, yeah, it is a little hard. But like, going back to like the Virginia blues, honestly, man, like you know, you read about it, you hear about it before you go out there, and I kind of mocked it. Honestly, I was like, how could anybody be, you know, have the blues and be sad while they're out here? I didn't think it was possible, and it did eventually hit me actually, but in a bit of a different way. Right around Dragon's Tooth. I don't remember exactly where that was at, but I think it was right before the Shenandoahs.
I know it's pretty close to McAfee Knob as well, so I'm trying to think, what was the town around there? Daleville-ish area, maybe a little bit
Daleville.
south of Daleville, I think.
Yeah, and that kind of honestly, right around there, kind of changed the entirety of my hike. So like I was, I've been rolling with a good trail family the whole time, great crew, and right as we hit Dragon's Tooth, I don't know if you remember, but that descent down the Dragon's Tooth was
Yeah.
probably one of the gnarliest descents we'd come
That
across.
was gnarly. I remember you telling me this story, actually, but I want to hear it again.
Yeah, dude. And so like I'm just cruising and like get through all like the harder parts and like the rebar and the wall, and you're like, all right, this is new, but like no problem. And you're rolling down that, and I could literally see the trail. I'm on the final part of like the rocky section, and I see where it just turns back into like dirt, and I just took the wrong step and tripped myself, like got too excited and fell about 2 or 3 feet like straight down onto both my knees. Kind
Oh,
of, it was just brutal, man. Like instantly, just like, yeah, I don't know. In those like few half seconds, I was like, I'm done. Like that's it. I just blew out both my knees. Like how am I gonna keep
yeah.
going?
Fuck, dude.
And
I'm
like,
cringing just thinking about that.
oh yeah, it was brutal because I mean, like every hiker knows the knees, man. There's such a crucial part, and yeah, I just destroyed them. And luckily, I was hiking with some friends, and it was kind of a it was a bit of a scary moment, honestly, because like I kind of nailed my knees. And then the rock that I was on was at a slant, so I kind of rolled to the side and ended up with my face like overlooking this 30-foot drop. And it really hit me at that moment. I was like, holy shit.
Oh,
I could
shit.
like that was pretty intense, and it really opened my eyes. And I think not only getting injured, but kind of like looking at the reality of the danger of the trail, not to like scare anybody from it, like, but it is one false step, and sometimes they could go either direction. And I got really lucky, and like I said, my trail family was there, and they helped me out. And like, I don't want to say I dodged a bullet. I just think that I was careless in a moment, and in that, like, they helped me out, and we kind of it was worked my way down that mountain, and ended up in a hostel. It kind of took like about a week off, honestly,
Oh,
man. Like
yeah.
my knees were jacked up. I was like rolling them in duct tape and bandages, whatever you could find, man. And like I think I met this guy, man, what was it? Four Pines Hostel, and this it was amazing. It was like one of the best, like this really, I don't know, amazing, almost magical moment on the trail for me, because I was just laid up on a couch, like not going anywhere. And this guy who didn't speak a lick of English, just all German, he saw that I was like suffering. My legs were all just duct taped. And he just like came over, and we almost like mimed this interaction. And I guess he had like medical experience. So he like treated my leg and like
Oh,
wrapped it
wow.
up real nice. And I was just like one of those, it was almost Trail Magic-esque, but more of just like two hikers coming together, and like we couldn't even speak the same language, but he just helped me out because he's
Yeah.
been in that spot.
Oh,
And
that's awesome, man.
that was really cool. And I think going forward from there, I like a lot of my perspective changed, because like a lot of my friends and the trail family kind of moved on, and so I think a lot of my goal was to try to catch up with some familiar faces, but it was like hundreds and hundreds of miles. Like I
Yeah.
knew it was gonna be a minute. So I think that for me at least, that's kind of when the trail, like Virginia blues, hit me, just in the like going from such like a, I don't know, populated and social environment to almost completely by myself. Like it was very weird, because even in those like handful of days after that, I started ending up at shelters where there was nobody else. I was like, what? Like not even day hikers, and I would see like one or two people a day, and it kind of blew my mind. I was like, you feel so like it feels so populated at times, and then other times you can just be alone in the woods. And
Yeah.
I think it really hit me there. Yeah, man, it's just like I wasn't sure if I was gonna finish it, and like I knew I was gonna slowly heal and kind of get back at it, but like at what price and how long. And it just like everything kind of compiled onto me at that moment. And I think I kind of got held up in Buena Vista. It was a small town. Like got stuck there during that heat wave. Like that nailed us like right after that. And
Yeah.
so I was just like getting bad luck after bad luck for a minute, which is honestly is part of the trail, and tests you. And I think like I really rethought a lot of my progress and whether I was gonna finish, or if it was time to go home or not. But honestly, like like we were talking about earlier, it was just like a few text messages from people on the trail and people off the trail that really like made me stick my guns out and like keep going forward. It was just like, why'd you come out here if you're gonna finish not even halfway? So I think it's like that's what it hit me, man. Yeah, and like so I had a bit of the trail like Virginia blues, but instantly like that was actually right when I met you and Mullet Mike. Like I went going to the Shenandoahs and Waynesboro right there.
Yep.
So I was coming off this injury, and jump in any time, man. But like honestly, like I don't know if I ever did thank you and Mullet Mike, but I'm going to now, because you guys retrained me perfectly to start doing 20-mile days and like pushed me. I was like, all right, I'm going to keep up with these dudes. And like, I don't care how bad it hurts. Like, I'm going to get back into like the hiking mentality and screw this like injury. I'm going to get back at it. I want to catch up with people. So like, yeah, you guys like getting like finding new friends and a new trail family was so inspiring, honestly. And just like, you guys had so much energy and like you'd been destroying the trail. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to be about this for a minute.
That's kind of funny. Flossie kind of told me the same thing because that's around the time that I met him as well. It was right before Shenandoah. So yeah, I don't know. Like, it's kind of interesting hearing both you guys kind of say that separately because for Mullet and I, we were just in the middle of our hike. We didn't really do anything too differently before that or after that. We were just kind of cruising. Honestly, I think it's just because we started so late. We were just in the mentality of like, gotta go. We kind of felt like we were racing against the clock for, at least I shouldn't speak for Mullet, I guess. But for me, I know I felt like that for pretty much the entire way up to Harper's Ferry, even into parts of Pennsylvania, I guess. So I don't know. We were just cruising. So speaking of Pennsylvania, why don't we kind of jump back in there? So Pennsylvania, fucking one of the longer states on the trail, but not nearly as long as Virginia. I know I just said a second ago that for me, making it to Pennsylvania, or I said Harper's Ferry, but Harper's Ferry is only a couple days out of Pennsylvania. So making it to like Harper's Ferry, Mason-Dixon line, Maryland, that whole, Pennsylvania, that whole section there was like a huge like turning point for me because like I said a second ago, up to that point, I had kind of been racing against the clock, or that's at least what I had, that's how it had felt for me, I guess. And after that, I feel like I gained like a new sense of confidence. Like I always had a sense of confidence there. I was grinding. I wasn't going to give up. But after that, I was kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm halfway done this thing. A lot of people have told me that when they make it to, roughly the Harper's Ferry halfway area, they're kind of like, okay, well, I've only done half this trail. Like, I still have to redo, in a sense, everything that I just did to get here. Like, I don't know how I can possibly do that. And then there's people that are kind of in the other camp, which I know I found myself in. I was like, fuck yeah, I made it halfway. Like, I'm crushing this shit. Like, I can definitely, keep grinding for another stretch of this. How did you kind of feel when you made it to that like Harper's Ferry, Mason-Dixon halfway-ish area?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm on like kind of more that second group and with you, man. Like hitting that halfway point was another one of those eye-opening moments. And honestly, I just stood at the sign, like they put up that official halfway point sign for 2018, and I stood there for a while, man, maybe even an hour. I was just like so like dumbstruck by this idea of how far I had made it. And honestly, it was just like extremely empowering. I think I've never felt more empowered than in that moment on the trail for the rest of the day.
Even when you finished?
Even when I finished, like surprisingly enough.
Interesting.
Like, it was. And like, I wasn't expecting that at all. But for the rest of the day and the rest of the hike and even like into the next week, this sense of being able to do anything. I don't know if I'd ever felt that in my life of just like I conquered half this trail and I made it this far. So like honestly, yeah, I felt like I could do anything after that in life. Like nothing would hold me back after that, regardless of whether it's the rest of the trail or whatever else is up ahead. Like I was doing it.
That was the day that we did the half-gallon challenge together, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. That was the best way to end that day.
I'm kind of surprised you were so stoked about that because I recall that being a very shitty, rainy fucking day.
I know, it was. And I remember it started like pouring on us right as we were like rolling up to the...
I was like soaking wet. Like I literally just rolled right up. You were there waiting for me, just soaking wet and just sitting down and mowing on a half-gallon of ice cream outside, mind you. It's like we were inside where it was like warm.
Yeah, it was like not the day to eat ice cream either.
No, it wasn't. Fucking classic. He would always brag about how fast he did the half-gallon challenge, and I was like, dude, you did it on like a 90-degree sunny day, so like you pretty much just drank it. I was like, dude, it was probably like 60 degrees, and I was like soaking wet when I did it. Like there's no way that shit was melting easily, so you can fuck right off.
Yeah, that was definitely a challenge to get through that.
You crushed it though. You beat me. What'd you do in like 40 minutes?
Yeah, I think it was 40 minutes. Yeah, man. I was about it. I was just like, hell yeah, ice cream, let's go.
So yeah, we're kind of blowing through this. I think we did pretty well for not having any script or sort of questions at all. We're almost at an hour here, but still got a few more minutes. So yeah, I'm kind of breezing through this a little bit. But let's go a little bit north of Pennsylvania. At this point, we've split up. Me, Mike, and some of the other guys. Kind of pulled ahead just a little bit, and take me into, I guess, I'm just going to group like New Jersey, New York, Connecticut kind of together because in my mind they were kind of like a big, sweaty, humid blur. What was your experience kind of going through that mid-Atlantic part of the trail, I guess?
Yeah, Mid-Atlantic, man. I was doing really good in that moment. I caught up back with a lot of my people, and I knew you guys were up ahead, so it was kind of like another motivation to be like, all right, I can always push for those high 20s, maybe even a 30, and catch up back with Narnar and Mo Mike and Flossie. But yeah, dude, it was great. Like, I really liked that section. It definitely felt like a different part of the trail, and that sounds so vague, but just a different environment, a different setting. You very much felt like you were in the north.
Yeah.
Just by the vibe. But I think in all of that, those honestly, that does blur a lot together. But I think I set those apart kind of by like the New York area, like that. Was it the Catskills or kind of like what was that, like more rockier area? It was so much fun. I mean, I went through it when it was blinding rain, but I still loved it. Every
Dude, I hated that. I hated that shit. Oh, that makes me like mad just hearing you saying that shit. Oh, just like the ups and downs. Like you never like instead of going up like a big mountain and then going down. It wasn't like climbs like that. It was just like constant 200-foot climbs. You go up like really steep, then you go down. And by the time you've caught your breath from going up the first time, you got to go back up again. I don't know how you liked that. That bugged the shit out of me. And it was also really hot when I went through there. So that was certainly a big factor. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. No, I mean, I was definitely feeling it. Like, yeah, that was not so much fun. And
no, I don't want to rain on your parade, though. You said you liked it. Tell me why you liked it.
Well, I liked it for the challenge, honestly. Like, I was kind of, it was just a moment of something new. Like, especially in that rain. We'd gone through rain before, but not with this sort of terrain at that moment. So I think it definitely slowed me down for a while, but at the same time was just fun. Like as many times as I fell on my ass, I was laughing the whole time. I didn't give a shit. I didn't mind. I was still moving forward. And
yeah,
honestly, like I ended up going to New York City and kind of doing that whole little side trip, and that was a big moment, I think, for me on the trail of kind of like re-entering society in like a small way, even if it was just for a couple of days. But it was like the most, the biggest city you could jump into after something like that. It's like I remember a moment like landing in the train station, and I was just like, I think in the first 5 minutes of being in New York, I'd seen like 10 times more people than I had in the previous months.
Yeah.
It was insane. And I think it was overwhelming, but
I was gonna ask, like, how did that feel? Like going from living in the woods for so long to all of a sudden just smack dab in the most heavily populated city in the entire country.
I mean, for sure, overwhelming, but I was good with good people and having a good time, so I think that kind of balanced it out. But honestly, like, I didn't feel a part of that society in a weird way. I felt very like as an outsider.
Yeah, watching it from the outside, kind of like this is just a break, a vacation for me, I guess.
Yeah,
vacation from your vacation.
Honestly, like I remember a specific moment while I was sitting there in some dumb cafe and like talking to my other trail friends and just being like, I probably said the most foolish thing I'd ever said on the trail, and I got like way over cocky and confident in myself. I was like, oh man, like we're almost done. This last section of the trail is just gonna be cruising and chill, and I've learned everything I need to learn. I've gone through every struggle I need to go through, like no problem. And I gotta say, like probably the hardest things were up ahead.
Oh yeah,
and that smacked
for
me
sure
in my face like hard. So I mean, it was great, and it was good to be like feeling like I belonged out there and that confidence, but at the same time it was like almost raining in on the other side, and I think the trail kind of slapped me around a little bit after that in a good way, honestly, and put me back in my place.
Yeah, so I guess continuing north up the Appalachian Trail, you start to get into like Connecticut, Massachusetts, southern New England area. I guess some people would even group Vermont in there, but I can't do that because Vermont's just a whole section by itself for me, obviously. But like, how did you feel like as you kept going? Like, what was kind of troubling you? I guess like when did that like adversity start to kind of show its head?
I think I kind of got confident around, I mean, not confident, but complacent around that time, in a way that it wasn't doing like the biggest miles and kind of like taking it a little bit slower, but more enjoying the moment. And I got pretty lost in that in a good way, honestly. Like it was really nice to be able to do, don't be as much about the miles and be more about them smiles, dude. Like,
You come up with that on your own? That's a good one.
oh yeah, all by myself. But really, it was kind of probably the most relaxing part of the trail, if I gotta be honest. Like, I kind of wrap it up in the idea of Upper Goose Pond. I don't know if you made it there. Did you stop there?
I didn't stop there. No, that's one of my, I don't want to say regrets, but I'm going to go back someday and stop there for sure because I was in the middle of like a day. I blew right by it. But yeah, I remember the intersection and everything.
Yeah, highly recommend, man. Because like that was that moment, especially I took a half day in there and I don't know, it was amazing, man. It felt like a full vacation. I think it really like sunk in like the vibe of New England and just like you're being on this lake and the seasons are beginning to change, but you still get that last swim in there and canoeing and just hanging out in that vibe of like hiker life and community. And so I was very relaxed at that time of the hike, and I think that it kind of like picked up after that when I got too complacent. It was like, shit, am I gonna make it? Like, but it wasn't like a scary thing. It was just more of like, do I want to be walking in December? Yeah. Like, I knew I was gonna finish, but by when? And so I think, honestly, that was kind of one of the things that I think put me into a spot to where maybe I had more trouble, or like, you get knocked down by something like the whites and you're going into that, and like I might be getting a little ahead of myself, but like those were like more of the challenges, was kind of that, and just going into like southern, you have these destructive mountain range, the trail and the Hoosick Notch, and you have all these things that just like on a daily basis are just like throwing you down and challenging you on a whole new level. And I think that had something to do with like kind of my statement back in New York, was that as much as I knew the whites were ahead, I didn't think it was going to throw anything at me that I hadn't seen necessarily. But that was like definitely overconfidence and being naive, but almost in a good way, because then I got to the whites and it was like, cool, I am being challenged, and this is a harder section. It's a little bit more dangerous and you really have to be on point and on top of your stuff. But that, I loved it, man. Like the whites, like most people, is some of my favorite spots. It's just a whole new world. Like, unlike anything you could imagine. I don't know. It's amazing out there, and you really feel it at that time.
I'm always kind of curious getting other people's like perspective on the whites, especially in the context of an entire through hike, after you've seen all this different terrain up to that point. Because I had hiked pretty extensively in the whites, even before I'd set out to hike the Appalachian Trail. So I knew like what I was, gonna get going through there. But it's always kind of interesting hearing people's thoughts about the whites that had never, I guess, hiked through there before, and how it kind of compares to the rest of the trail, if you can even compare it to the rest of the trail, honestly.
True. Yeah. It is hard because like, that, what is it? What's that first mountain?
Moosilauke.
Moosilauke, yeah.
Moosilauke. Honestly, I've done that mountain twice now and I still don't even know what the right pronunciation is, but yeah.
No, but you start climbing up that mountain, and honestly, it felt like any other one, and then it keeps going up.
Yeah, you just don't stop.
You're just like, all right, it's about time for me to hit the summit, and you don't, and then that's when you're like, all right, shit, this is the white.
And then how about going down that shit, dude? Honestly, I think the climb down Moosilauke, so going north on the Appalachian Trail, I think it's called the Beaver Brook Trail.
Yeah.
It goes down to Kinsman Notch, I believe. One of the ways that you can get into Lincoln, New Hampshire is the town there. That descent, I think it was only like a mile and a half or 2 miles, but I don't know, did that like kick your ass as much as it kicked mine? Because the first time I did the peak, I hadn't gone that way before. So like that was surprising. I don't know. That descent was pretty damn gnarly.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the tougher ones, and I think me and like the people I was hiking with at the moment were like not about it. Like we had been about it going up. We saw that we were happy to be on top of the summit, and they're like, "Cool, we'll just down this mountain, going into town that night." Like we were very. It's taking way longer than usual. There's
Yeah.
just like hours and hours for like a couple miles. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was where there was that waterfall right next to most of the descent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That you
So
could
everything
like
was
almost fall into, dude. Dude.
exactly.
At one point, that shit was so sketchy. There was some day hikers going up the other, like we were going down and they were going up. They were like just like your typical like unprepared day hikers. I sound like such an asshole complaining about people hiking again, but they were like wearing jeans and like Converse, and like they were trying to take their dog up this shit.
Oh,
And that thankfully they ended up turning around because we saw them again at the bottom when we came out to the parking lot there. But I was like, dude, like you cannot take a dog up that like that's just not safe at all. Like it's hardly even safe to take a person up there. Like I can't imagine. Oh jeez, I don't even know.
No, I feel you, man. Because like, yeah, that descent was brutal, and there was like they put those little stair steps in,
Yeah.
the wooden ones, and the rebar, and just like when they go out of their way to kind of help you that it's really hard because the trail does not try to help you at any moment out there. So yeah, I was feeling it. I think by the end of that day, honestly, it was one of the most exhausting nights. Like when I got down to the end of the mountain and we had a pickup to go into town. I don't think I was more destroyed at any other moment.
Oh, really?
And like nobody in my group was happy. We were all just trying to
Just
get.
like,
We were
shit,
cold.
this
we
is just the
wanted
beginning
food.
of the whites too.
We were destroyed. Exactly. We were like, all right, we got like days and days of this. Like we might need to rethink our plan. And yeah, man. Like honestly, I think that was kind of the moment where things shook up for me a lot more too. Not only just like the hiking environment, but like also the social end of it. Like that was where I kind of lost a lot more of like our trail families went separate ways for reasons, and like it was just another moment where it's like you think you're so solidified at certain times on the trail, and I think this really hit home for me because I've been with that trail family for so long that we all like, at least for me, I had this like this vision of the end, making it to Katahdin and like hiking down to that town and going to a bar and clinking glasses of champagne at the end. And you've been with these people and these, you've made these relationships and these friendships, and you really feel it, and you just, that's how it's going to end. And then the trail, like anytime you expect something or plan on something, like the trail throws you kind of through a different loop. I feel like not necessarily bad, not necessarily good, just a different experience. And for me, that was kind of like an eye-opening experience where it became a lot more about the individual again, and maybe less about the group. But that was good. Like honestly, like there was a lot of transition in the whites themselves, and like a whole nother side of like this, like what I went out there to found. You always kind of expect one thing, the trail provides maybe something else. Be better, could be worse, who knows? But it's usually what you need at that time. So I felt like I really got what I needed. And yeah, it wasn't the ending, or it wasn't like everything didn't lead up to the ending I thought I expected or saw in my mind, but in some ways it was better, like honestly. And like I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but like yeah, I got to meet up with you guys and like around the 100-mile wilderness, and that was amazing. And like it ended differently, but like in such a positive way. And like I never thought I was gonna get to meet up with you and Flossie again.
Yeah,
and,
dude, I could not believe, like, because the entire time after we got ahead of you, I was like kind of trying to keep tabs on you just based on your Instagram. I was like, oh, like I hope Pac-Man's able to catch up. And then that one time we walked into the shelter, no, you walked into the shelter. It was after dark at this point, and like I knew you were in the area because I was following your Instagram, like I said, but we hadn't seen each other since that day in Pennsylvania, out of Duncannon, Pennsylvania. So that's a good 800, it might even be more than 800, but a good chunk of the trail for sure. And then I see these headlamps come in. It kind of woke me up. I was like, oh, who's this asshole coming into the shelter so late at night? And then I hear your voice. I was like, yo, Pac-Man, That's you. What's good?
Yeah, dude. No, that was great. And like I remember that like I was like creeping in. I was like trying not to be like that dude at night. And then I heard your voice. I was like, fuck it. No, that's
All
not.
right. Loud as I want now. He won't care.
Exactly. And no, man. And even at that moment, like it was such an unexpected reunion. Like you said, I knew you were in the area, but like that was another part of like the unexpectedness of the trail. Like I felt like I needed that in that moment to like meet up with you guys, and it provided in such a positive way. And I don't know, it was great, man. Like I said, unexpected, and yet like made such an impact at the end of the hike for me. Just seeing familiar faces and reuniting with people that you've gone through a struggle with at different sections of the trail, sure, but like you still went through some shit, and like band of brothers mentality, man. But yeah, dude, I was not expecting to see that, honestly.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. So who would have guessed that the one episode that I did not prepare for at all turns out to be the longest episode I've ever done? Maybe I should have expected that. Maybe, I guess when you get two people together and have them talk about, you know, an experience like hiking the Appalachian Trail, they could probably ramble on for days and days and days, which I guess is kind of the point of this podcast. So I guess on that note, Pac-Man, I kind of want to try to wrap things up. I'm kind of bummed because like there's still like a lot of stuff that, like I said, I didn't really plan it out, but there's just kind of a couple things in my head I wanted to get to, mostly kind of talking about our adjustments after the trail. But at this point, we are over an hour, so I think we're going to kind of reel it in a little bit. So the last thing I kind of want to say, Pac-Man, is first of all, where can people find you on Instagram if you're interested in having some people from Kyle's little podcast follow you on any future adventures that you have?
Yeah, man. So I got a hiking Instagram all hooked up, and they can find me at Goldman_gone_wondering. So
nice.
That's Goldman Gone Wondering.
Cool, man. Just real quick here, last thing I want to say, are there any future, whether it's through hikes or any sort of adventures planned for you?
Yeah, honestly, man, like I'm about that Triple Crown, like straight up. I think after doing one of the three, I just can't imagine not doing it. PCT next, man. Right now the rally cry is 2020. So
oh, nice. You've even got a date, or not a date, but a year already. That's awesome, man. Dude. I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm also thinking about doing it in the next couple of years. I'm not gonna commit to a certain year yet, but you know, I'm right there with you for sure, dude, for sure.
Yeah, and like honestly, man, like it's something that I went out there and expected to do just the AT and have that experience, but something inside of me got woken up, and honestly, I'm gonna be hiking for the rest of my life now.
Oh, for sure. I always feel like when it comes to somebody who does their first through hike, there's the people that start a through hike and don't make it very far, or even they make it far, but for whatever reason, you know, they can't complete the trail, they can't finish their through hike. And I feel like those people will generally say that like they had a good experience, but they're probably not going to ever do it again. And then there's the people that finish, and I feel like the majority of the people that finish a through hike, whether it's the AT or any other long distance trail, will definitely tell you that they are going to do another one sometime in the near future, probably. I don't know. That's my experience at least, but I am in that same boat as well.
Cool. But what's the next hike for you, man?
Dude, I don't know. Like probably the PCT, honestly. I mean, I've got some shorter like hikes planned for, you know, just things I can do while I'm still working full time. Actually, yeah, Flossie and I are doing the Foothills Trail in South Carolina, which is like an 80-mile trail. We're probably going to be doing that at the end of April, beginning of May, kind of ish time period. So that's my next immediate hike, but PCT sometime in the next couple of years. I'm thinking I'm gonna send it for sure.
Nice, man. I'm about it. I like it.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, Pac-Man, thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for listening, everybody.
It's been awesome having me. Thanks a lot, dude.
No problem. Don't hang up. But yeah, we're gonna sign off now. Thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 10 of Trail Tales. Go leave a review. Smash that subscribe button, all that good stuff. Yeah, just thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one.